So it's good to be back. I'm happy to be home. We are back in the studio. I've upgraded the equipment a little bit. If I sound a bit different, I'm hoping that it sounds better. Please do let me know in the comment section below what you think of how I sound. Not what I say, because as we all know, everything I say on here is correct. So if you disagree with me, you're just wrong. And you will be piled upon in the comment section. But if you have some feedback on how we could improve the sound, I'm all open to it. Now, Donald Trump, I think, is obviously one of the most divisive presidents that there ever has been in recent history. However, there is one thing that he's done that I could not find. I wouldn't say that I would agree with it, but I couldn't imagine a president making a more relatable move. Like he signed an executive order that I don't necessarily agree with, but I wholeheartedly understand, and I absolutely get why he did it. And honestly, if I were in his position, I would be signing executive orders like this, which probably isn't a good thing. And that's also why I should never be president. But someone like this has become the president, and he's just doing these types of executive orders. And I think that's what I would do. All right. So Trump's gone, and his latest executive order is to ban plastic straws. He said, ban paper straws. He said, we're going back to plastic. Fuck those turtles. Now, I think that is probably a bad idea, and I'm going to explain why. But I totally sympathize with Trump, because if I was president, I'd be doing insane shit like that too. I'd be signing executive orders like, man, if you sell any size at your cafe other than small, medium, large, public execution. That's the type of executive order that I would sign, and that's why I shouldn't be president. But here we have a guy just like me in the White House, and that's great. And he's got a really, really, really autistic friend, arguably retarded. I mean, that's just like me and Keelan. Keelan's here, by the way. So, look, I don't agree. I think that plastic straws should be banned because I think there's enough plastic in the world, and I just don't think that a straw is necessary at all. Like, honestly, and don't fucking jump down my throat, all right? Why do straws exist at all? Have a think about that. If you can justify the existence of straws at all, I will allow you to have plastic straws. But all these people complaining about how paper straws fall apart, I just look at these people and I go, do you know what a fucking cup is? Why do you need the straw at all? Oh man, the straw falls apart when I'm drinking from my fucking cup. Use the cup, idiot. I don't think I've ever been in a situation where I needed to use a straw, where like drinking wouldn't work just as well. Like why do straws exist at all? Can someone enlighten me? Oh, because maybe they shut up. We don't need them. There's enough fucking plastic in the world where we don't need straws. Ban all straws. If I'm president, I'm public execution for anyone who calls a drink a silly name, like a big boy. You're dead on sight. But also, we're banning paper straws and plastic straws. I'll allow like reusable metal straws. That's it. Like if you're absolutely the type of spastic that can't use a fucking cup, they need a straw, you can have a metal one. Like, why do we have straws at all? What's the existence of them? I'll tell you what it is: to sell more straws. But if I get my cold little drinky, I want to drink it out of the. If straws exist, now we got to get a fucking plastic cup that has a little spot for a straw. And now there's so much more plastic. And let me tell you something, there's enough plastic. You know what I read the other day that scared the shit out of me? That every now and then I will read a headline that is so scary I have to fact check it. Every other headline I read, I just believe it. All right? You know, if someone told me that 2 + 2 is now 3, if I saw that 3 times on Twitter, I'd be like, well, I guess it's 3. You know, because I don't have the time to fact check. I'm a busy man. All right, I've got a very important job of yelling into a microphone once a week. Twice a week if you support me on Patreon. which you should. Right? I'll use your support to buy a metal straw and kill a sea turtle with it. My bare hands. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I don't fact check things. I mean, if you're a long-time listener of the show, you know that I come on this show and I say things that I read on social media, and then I say them as if they were either an original thought of mine or as if I read the original source that some other guy is repeating. You ever see that? Like, oh, you ever see someone just lie to your face about reading something? Like they go, oh, I read this study that said this about nutrition. And then they start talking about it, and you realize that they didn't read the study. They're just regurgitating a TikTok from a charismatic guy who claims to have read the study, but probably just skimmed the conclusion of the study. And if he were to read it, wouldn't fucking understand it anyway. You know, you ever catch somebody else doing that to you? You ever catch yourself doing that to someone else? You'd be like, what the fuck am I even saying? What the fuck am I telling this stranger? Like I'm pretending to be a nutritional expert that reads studies? I can't even fucking finish a book. You think I'm going to read a study? Let alone a study about nutrition and comprehend it enough to be able to explain it in layman terms to some fucking idiot I bumped into. We're all doing this. I know you've done this before. I know you've gone, I read the other day, and you're just fucking rewording a YouTube short you watched 30% of. Like a fucking moron pretending to be smarter than you are. I know what you're doing, all right? Because I do it too. We all do it. You've probably fucking done it after I've said something on a podcast. You know? Like I watched an Instagram reel from some guy saying something objectively untrue, and then I reworded it, said it to you, and now you're telling someone else, and they're going, wow, this person's so smart. You idiot. You believe in me? I don't know what I'm talking about. I turn the mic on and I fucking go, and then you're like, oh, I'm learning. Oh, yeah? Here's what I read the other day that scared me so much that I thought, fuck, I need to fact check that. And I did, and it's true. You know how we've all got microplastics in our body, right? In our blood, in our skin. Fellas, in your coin purse, in your nuts. Microplastics in there. You think you're fucking blowing loads into your beautiful girlfriend. Turns out you're filling her up with even more microplastic. You know, every time I have sex, I feel like a 3D printer. Just blowing out plastic shapes. Anyway, I read this the other day. That's true. All right? We know that we now have microplastic in our brain. And they've been studying this. And they've been keeping up with it. They just did a massive study following up of a previous massive study. The previous massive study found a concerningly high amount of microplastics in our brain. Right? Now, if you don't know what microplastic is, I think we covered this on a previous episode. I thought microplastic was like something that was so small you couldn't even see it, right? Micro can go up to the size of a grain of rice. Huh? That's what classifies as micro. Don't believe me? Google it. It's true. Or at least I heard someone on TikTok say it, and now I'm saying it to you as if it were true. But I'm pretty sure I've also fact-checked that one. Micro means grain of rice. Nanoplastic is what I think we all assume microplastic to be. But no, we've got lots of microplastic, which is as big as a grain of fucking rice. And then we also have nanoplastic, which we can't really accurately test for. But it's there. Feeling like a fucking Lego man. I feel like by the time I get to the end of my life, my fingers are just going to be like this, and I'll only be able to equip certain lightsabers and hammer-like tools. So this is what I read. They did a follow-up study to have a look at how much microplastic is in our brain, because the thing with the microplastic in your brain is that it can kind of get in, but it struggles to get out, right? So it flows all around your body, all good, but once it passes the blood-brain barrier, it can't really get out. So anyway, they followed up on this microplastic study to see how much more plastic or less plastic is in people's brains. Turns out it's effectively tripled since they did the last big study. And do you want to know how much microplastic is in your brain right now and my brain? Enough to make a spoon. You and me and everyone you meet has enough plastic in their fucking brain to make a spoon. I want you to think about that every time you read something that fucking stupid online from an idiot. That it's so wrong that it makes you fucking angry. You go, this fucking moron. Don't reply. Just think to yourself, that guy has a spoon in his fucking brain. That's why he's so dumb. A spoon of plastic. If you took all of the plastic out of my brain and yours, we could have 2 spoons. I could look like Alakazam. What type of spoon are we talking, though? You know, like that was my first thought. Like, are we talking teaspoon? Because that's not too bad. A teaspoon doesn't freak me out as much as, say, like a soup spoon. Fuck, there better not be a ladle in my skull. You know what I mean? Imagine there's a fucking ladle in there. That's why I can't remember anything that I learned in high school, because there's just some fucking wicked witch stirring her massive spoon in a cauldron, and that's my brain. There's a fucking spoon in your head. Dude, we're fucked. That has me thinking, like, how much more room is there? I didn't know I had room for a spoon. If you rolled up to a hospital and with a headache and they scanned your brain and they saw a fucking soup spoon in there, they'd be like, how is this guy not dead? But every single one of us has a spoon's worth of plastic in our brains. Oh, that makes perfect sense. No wonder there are so many people on Facebook looking at those AI images being like, oh my God, it's real. Every single time you see one of those AI posts on Facebook with 60,000 likes, that's the person who has a fucking spoon in their skull and it's in the wrong places. A fucking spoon, dude? A spoon of plastic. That's true. Google it right now. If you can figure out how to. How much more plastic is going to go in our brains before the entire population just starts to drop dead? Like, that's a serious question. That's why when Trump's like, we're bringing back plastic straws. Hey, brother, let's bring out a straw that can suck the plastic out of our fucking brains first. Let's invent that kind of straw. Dude, do you know, like, I feel ever since I read that last week, ever since I've been thinking, I feel like a fucking ice addict. The spiders underneath my skin. The spoon inside my brain. It's crossed the blood-brain barrier. There's a spoon in my brain. A spoon in my fucking skull, man. We're doomed. It's over. As soon as I read that, I thought, I'm never arguing with anyone ever again. Because not only does that fucking idiot have a spoon inside his brain, so do I. We're both stupid. Why are we even talking? I think this explains everything. People go, why aren't movies any good anymore? Why, when they shoot a movie at night, can't I see anybody? Because when they released Lord of the Rings, there was only a thimble worth of plastic in the lighting director's brain. Now, every person who tries to light a scene at night has a fucking spoon in their brain, and they go, oh, why don't we just make it look like nighttime in real life? I can't see anything. Game of Thrones sucks. That's why when you read a book now, you're like, this is good. And then you read a classic, you're like, this is unbelievable. I can't fucking comprehend how good this is. And that's because Hemingway didn't have a spoon in his brain and a phone in his hand. Dude, honestly, for real. As soon as I read there was a spoon in my head, I started deleting apps on my phone. I was like, I know for sure that social media is making me dumber. I don't have room for Instagram and a spoon in my head. I can only have one, and as of yet, we haven't figured out a way to get the spoon out, so it looks like Instagram has to go. We're fucked. And Trump's like, hey, let's get straws back into action, dude. Let's fucking go. Which I have to respect because obviously he was very personally annoyed by plastic straws. Trump's very funny because like one day he'll make a wildly he'll make a wildly courageous and not necessarily in the well thought out way, but like the courageous is in like, I reckon I could fucking jump over that type way decision that like at the time seems insane, but then in hindsight is like, fuck, that was a genius actually. Right? But then also he'll just like read something on Twitter and be like, that should be a law. You know? There's never been a smarter guy more easily swayed by the opinions of others. Some fucking idiot on Twitter, currently known as X, was like, straws suck now, they fall apart. And Trump's like, yeah, that's an executive order, dude. What a fucking waste of time. Yeah, anyway, I can't remember what I feel like this is a tangent that I just went on and I can't remember where I was going, but you can't fault me for that because I've got a spoon in my head. Forever and ever, whenever I read an email from someone who can't spell, I'm just going to be like, well, that guy's got a spoon in his fucking head. And you know what's crazy, right? Is I'm 31 and I can't really remember, again, because of the spoon in my brain. But I'm pretty sure that the people that they were testing were around my age. So I've got a spoon in my head. But you, the Zoomer, or even worse, the Gen Alpha, listening to this, what are they, like 7 years old? Stop fucking listening to this. Go and do your homework that you can't understand because you've got a fucking baby rattle in your mind. Anyway, what I'm saying is the younger you are now, the more plastic is going to be in your brain. So like, I don't know, if you're 15 now, by the time you're my age, you won't have a spoon's worth of plastic in your head. You'll have like a whole set of cutlery in there. You know? By the time I'm 80, I'll be able to extract all of the plastic in my brain and 3D print a cutlery set so expansive I would need to hire an English manners expert to tell me what the spoons are and for what use each fork is. You ever see those videos of that English gentleman and he's got like 65 different pieces of cutlery in front of him unrolled on a napkin and he goes, well, this is the soup spoon and that's the dessert spoon and we don't touch this before that and we don't use this and this is used in the left hand and that's used in the right hand. You'll have a full fucking set of cutlery in your brain. Because it's more convenient to suck on a straw than use a cup as intent. Like, what I'm saying is we don't need straws because it's made of plastic. Plastic bad. We need to completely limit the amount of plastic that we use in our environment. Because if we don't limit plastic enough, eventually our brains will be mostly plastic and then we'll start advocating for the use of more plastic because the plastic will assume control of our brains. Although I'm now thinking of the benefits of this, like eventually if we up the plastic, right, if we get enough microplastics in the brain, we won't need helmets anymore because we will have one built in. We'll have a plastic helmet that encircles the fucking brain inside our skull. So UFC would get better. No more concussions. People won't be able to be knocked out unless you choke them out. But then UFC would get worse. No one likes a submission win. Everyone wants to see a knockout. Okay, well, UFC would get worse. NFL would get better. No helmets. People would start charging into each other even faster. Dude, I can't believe that there's like a couple thousand people in here that have spoons in their brains. If you ever feel bad about a mistake that you made or a test that you failed or an error in judgment, just close your eyes and picture a spoon and visualize that in your fucking head. And you'll be like, that's why I'm an idiot. It's not my fault. And then go out there and find a CEO and dun 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 dun. You know what I mean?